You are listening to Something Rather Than Nothing. Creator and host, Ken Vellante. Editor and producer, Peter Bauer.
This is Ken Vellante with the Something Rather Than Nothing podcast. In this episode, we have a special report from the front lines of the Albany, Oregon, the teacher strike, Greater Albany Education Association, who have been on strike going on a week at the time of this episode airing. Just a little bit of context, personal history. I've worked with this local personally as a union rep for almost a decade, this brave and courageous local that has grown leaps and bounds day by day. During this episode, you'll hear the issues at stake in the strike for everybody in the system. You'll hear some sounds from the strike and inspiring chants that keep people going. And just really wanted to thank you for listening to this very special report about the brave strikers, workers, educators in Albany, Oregon. Thanks for listening.
Get down! Albany is a union town. Get up! Get down! Albany is a union town. Get up! Get down! Albany is a union town. Get up!
This is Ken Vellante, and we're here with Liz Craig, the president of the Greater Albany Association of Classified Employees. And I've been privileged and happy to call Liz a friend and a fellow unionist. And all the things that you listeners have heard about the situation in Albany, about such stark issues of safety in the classroom, class size, and those type of like day-to-day working conditions issues. Classified employees, so everybody knows, they're also called education support professionals within the National Education Association, are your food service workers, custodians, administrative assistants, instructional assistants, have different names, paraprofessionals, some trades, and basically all the people that keep the school buildings going, who make them, build them, and maintain them and feed our students. So the teachers are out on strike right now. And so I wanted to ask you, Liz, obviously, you work in the same environment. Can you say why the Classified Association has been so supportive of the teachers' strike and the issues that they're still bargaining?
Well, they are our issues, essentially. When they're talking about class size, they're talking about safety. Those things directly impact us as we are trying to support our students and our fellow educators every day.
When it comes to issues of staffing, and that's been a big, it's been a big topic, and I've heard the teachers talk about this. Not only proper staffing amongst teachers and staff for programs, but also for classified employees. We're talking about custodians. Many folks can easily remember the pandemic and all the heightened concerns around cleanliness, and particularly in the early days there. So a group that's like really been on the front lines and have had to deal with a lot of changes in student behavior in the classroom, a lot of some of the learning loss or the loss that students lost of social emotional learning, academic, and otherwise. How have you seen these changes impact the work that your members do from day to day, say over the last 3 or 4 years?
When we look at custodians, right, and talking about cleanliness, people often will think about COVID, but what we have all the time, we have schools that get shut down all over because of things like norovirus. And so we, in our district, hired a ton of extra custodial staff to do all this extra cleaning to keep the COVID away, right? But the reality is, if we don't have enough staff, like we currently don't have enough staff to keep our schools clean, it's not just COVID. It's, rashes, and there are other communicable diseases that we need to be worried about. As far as behavior goes, we have a new system in our district where previously we had our behavior kids in one type of classroom. We had our communications and autism kiddos, depending on their impact level, separated with kids who had the abilities within that same level of ability, I guess. And now what we're seeing as we're moving into a different kind of inclusion model is we have kids with different levels of autism as far as their abilities go, in with kids who are struggling with a lot of trauma-based behavior issues. And what is much harder now is where we had classified staff who focused solely on behavior. That was their craft. That's what they were good at. That's where they could be the most impactful. And then we had the other side. We had like PCAs who were dealing with our kiddos who were autistic and needed a certain kind of care. Now that everyone's kind of all thrown into the mix, no one's really feeling like they're being super effective in furthering the individual student's ability in their educational career here. So what we're seeing now is everyone's feeling very overwhelmed, they're not feeling like they're making a lot of strides before, we get into education because we want to help kids. So if you're not feeling like you are making these big strides and being a big impact in students' life, your job isn't very fulfilling. So now we're having a harder threshold of work environment every day. People are dropping out. People are they're finished. They can't put up with the nonsense every day, the not getting help, the overworked, overburdened, underpaid, all of those things. And now you're not even seeing the growth that you are able to give these students. It's just not worth it for people anymore to show up.
Sounds like a crisis situation, and I've worked closely with union members like yourself, and we don't want to yell out the word crisis, right? But the amount and the stresses on the system have had a significant impact on folks, and we're talking safety, we're talking about staffing, but let's be real here. What about money? I mean, I know in the last contract you negotiated that there were significant advances in wages that were necessary, that were fought for, that were needed. But, a lot of our folks experience economic insecurity, particularly through the inflation we've seen lately, housing costs. I don't have to explain this to anybody, or any of the listeners. And so even with those significant gains, we find a lot of education support professionals, classified workers, not having the means to survive or to provide for their family. What do you think is the best thing that can be done about the issue of compensation for what I view as essential workers in the school system?
State funding absolutely plays a huge part in this. Most of our classified, when we pulled them, have 2 or 3 jobs. And that's often with even another spouse. So if you think about if you ever want to be a classified employee who happens to be a single mom of even 1 kid, I mean, forget about it. You're definitely having 2 jobs. McDonald's and Panda Express, they all pay better than we do. And people will say, yeah, but they don't have the benefit package, right? Okay, we do. We have a good insurance. If you can afford the copay, who can't afford a copay is a classified employee who is already working 2 jobs and does not have a $20 to $50 copay. So is that really a benefit to them? No. No, most of them qualify for the Oregon Health Plan, right? And so we have to do better all around. This is nationally, right? Just we are working our butts off in the classrooms every day as well, alongside our teachers. And the amount of work that we put in to our craft versus our pay, like, it just doesn't add up in just about anywhere. Washington, I think, would be the closest. But we just need to do better nationally to pay all classified, all ESP, a better wage, something where you can go home and be a human being to your own family after you work your one job. NEA has a slogan, one job should be enough. That's 100% it. One job as an educator should be enough.
Yeah, because it's a very difficult job to do as well. Yeah, thank you for that. I also work with a lot of groups, including part-time community college faculty, who have a great precarity. Obviously, wages better than generally classified employees, but a great precarity of working at 2 or 3 different institutions and patching together a salary in doing that work. So in some of the groups I work with, seeing that economic precarity, see what inflation does to a paycheck, and of course, I believe in the power of collective bargaining. Just any final thoughts on this historic strike by the Greater Albany Education Association? Any thoughts about this moment and the stance that the teachers have taken?
It's sad. There's no educator around who is like, I want to be out there in the pouring rain, freezing cold, while our students are at home not learning. I don't know anybody who wants to do that. It's sad around here. I've talked to people all day. Even at the rally, people are crying. It's not something that people take lightheartedly and jump into it. What they are doing here, it's hard, but it is so important. We have to have safety in the classroom. We have to have class size, call it a cap. I don't care what you call it. We have to have some matrix that says, how much can one human being handle? What that number is, I'm not going to say I'm the authority, but we have to put these things down. That way everybody can be accountable to what it is, whatever the policy is, right? To say, oh, we're going to shoot for this. Well, I know in our district, when we were shooting for 17 to 19 kindergarten, some classrooms ended up with 28 or 29 kindergartners. What are we really asking people to do every day? We want to educate children. Well, how are we educating them if we can't do anything except for help kids tie their shoes all day long and, not getting any classroom support? The assistants aren't in the classroom to help. It's not a reasonable expectation of what is asked of educators these days. And GAEA is doing the right thing for our students.
Yeah. One bit of wisdom in my experience of working within labor, and I don't know if a lot of people realize this, and I certainly know management doesn't realize this. I have spent a quarter century having the most the tense, happy, intimate conversations with members who are in trouble, or there's something going on in their life, or there's a work issue, or there isn't one, or they get an aggressive, mean boss. And there's one thing I've spent my life doing is trying to get educators to stick up for themselves and to stick up for themselves collectively. And it's tough because you're tired and you don't know how to do it, or maybe your union's not the way you want it, or anything like that. But if there's some way I could convey this to folks or to management as a whole, you have to piss off educators, teachers, so much on a strike that they are going to do the thing that they're least inclined in the universe to do, which is not tend to their students. It is part of my union work, working with educators, and I respect the heck out of everything that they do. But to think that an educator takes stepping away from their student lightly, there isn't something that is more untrue that I know of and borne by experience. So my main point is, when you see a teacher strike, take it seriously and take the issues that the employees are talking about seriously. You don't have to believe everything you say or everything like that, but really spend some time and listen to what they're talking about, because if they're squawking, they ain't happy. So, thank you, Liz Craig.
We stand united, one union for the students of Albany School. One day longer. One day stronger. One day longer. One day stronger. One day longer. One day
Hey, this is Ken Vellante with the Something Rather Than Nothing podcast. Special strike episode this time. Albany teacher strike is happening as this episode is released. And I have a deep history with the area, but I want to jump right to it. I'm have the great pleasure to talk to a friend of mine, a union activist, leader for years and years, the president of GAEA, Dana Lovejoy. And I'm going to get right into it with you, Dana. 4 days of strike in the books. You've been at the bargaining table. You're the president. You're the bargainer. A lot of folks, this episode's going out, won't know where Albany is or why this strike. Can you give them a sense of why the teachers are on strike here and where things are at to kind of catch folks up?
We have a contract that's severely outdated with the students that we have in our classroom, and we have been advocating that our students deserve better. So our number one priority is around safety, and that's safety for students and staff, supporting our students through episodes, helping them understand what might cause their upset so that they can prevent it the next time. We're also looking at how do we retain and recruit the teachers that we have so that when students become familiar with the adults around them, they feel safer. And that also cuts down on any kind of safety things that might occur. And we're on strike because management continues to assert that they know what we want more than our members know what we want. And even today, we are at the table negotiating over an article that has no cost, but it's around professional development. Management asserts that we need 30 hours plus of professional development each year. And teachers, counselors, SLPs are saying, we need time to collaborate with those around us, to be thinking about how to support the students in our classroom instead of having professional development that does not actually develop us in our classrooms to be better teachers. We haven't really hit the big token pieces yet. Class size is absolutely something that's a sticking point for management. And we haven't come back to the economics in general. So we know that we still have bigger issues. But management doesn't seem to take seriously the issues at hand. And again, they continue to assert that they know more than we do about what we need.
Thanks, Dana. Let's drop just a little bit deeper into it. This strike has resonated with many in the area. I myself, outside of being in Albany, have visited places like Eugene, Portland, other cities. People know about this struggle. As a matter of fact, they're conversing and talking about this struggle, and they're talking about behavior in class size. You have just a thought about why this has resonated so much with other public educators at this moment?
I think in general, educators and other workers are being asked to do more with less. And what that's resulted in is having overcrowded classrooms and Rather than having a student that might need some space from other students, you don't have the space in your classroom to offer that student. And because of the overcrowded classrooms, it might take longer than needed to notice that that student is on the verge of needing a break. And by the time you recognize it, it's too late. And now you're having a room clear. I think that in general, teachers are in this profession by choice. They're not in it for the money. They're in it to help the kids that we have in our classrooms. We care deeply about them. And every day that we have these overcrowded classrooms and these behaviors that result from having overcrowded spaces, we go home feeling defeated because we were not able to serve the students in our classrooms. So as we are even navigating through these times right now, we have so many students who have unmet needs that we believe we could absolutely address, but the district continues to say that we don't have the money to address the needs of our students. The tax dollars are sent to schools to serve the students, so we're unclear where that money is being spent if it's not being spent on students.
One final question of resonances of this labor struggle and other areas has to do with women's work and has to do with the value of women's work. And I think a lot of folks in the community have talked about you can't overlook the fact that most of the workers in education are women. Historically, that has been the case, and there's been a lot of concern, to say the least, at the shocking misogyny and public misogynistic statements that are coming from leadership of GAPS. Can you say anything about the role of women in the undervalued work that teachers, both men and women and other genders, perform?
It's funny you should bring this up because the joke in the room has now become, let's make sure that we send the right male in the room so that they will listen to us. Women are undervalued. If you haven't seen the video that South Shore counselor Mariana Fisher has that it's been posted out on social media, I recommend you definitely check it out. Essentially, the leaders of this district are all male, and they have this idea that females maybe aren't capable of understanding the finances or aren't capable of understanding the dynamics that are involved or aren't capable even of knowing what they need for themselves. And because it is a predominantly female career, it definitely feels like the management is taking away the voice of the workers because, again, they know what the workers need, and many of those workers are, in fact, women.
Thank you for your comments. And just to affirm that, in my experience in working with many educators in the region over years, is all employees being hurt within this system, being abused, yelled at, and those particular effects amongst female staff and bullying from men in this district. And I know in talking to hundreds of teachers over the years and even folks just the last few days about there's a larger issue at stake here beyond the fundamentals that are in the classrooms. So how are we going to conduct ourselves? And Dana Lovejoy, we're going to make sure you get out and speak to the rest of parent supporters and labor supporters. Any final words, just where folks can contact, where to look for information and day-to-day in this struggle?
Yeah, we're keeping our website up to date, albanyteachers.org. Again, albanyteachers.org. We're posting all the ways that you can be involved. There's a new bingo card involved that you can click on different links and see how you can support the strike. We also encourage you to check out our Facebook page and our Instagram. Those links are also on the website, and just follow along with how things are going. We definitely appreciate the community support.
Everybody check the links in this special episode of Something Rather Than Nothing podcast, the Albany teacher strike. One great thing when you play strike bingo, everybody's a winner. Get involved. Please support Albany teachers involved on the front lines right now as they go into their 5th day of their historic strike in the Willamette Valley of Oregon. Thank you, listeners.
No peace. No contract. No peace. No peace. No peace. No peace. No peace. GAEA.
You're a mean one, Mr. Gardner. You really are a heel. You're as cuddly as a cactus. You're as charming as a Neil, Mr. Gardner. You're a bad banana with the greasy black peel. You're a monster, Mr. Gardner. Your heart's an empty hole. Your brain is full of spiders. You've got garlic in your soul, Mr. Gardner. I wouldn't touch you with a 39.5-foot pole.
This is Something Rather Than Nothing.